Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our podcast. Today is April 26th on a Sunday. I figure I go ahead and talk a little bit about what took place yesterday at the Hilton, Washington venue where they had press correspondence dinner event with the president and his staff. I'm gonna briefly talk a little bit about my overall position regarding political violence, why it's so outdated. It seems to be the modus operandi of those that simply cannot engage in a civil debate, doesn't have the brain capacity to verbalize a position that can provoke people to think, win their hearts and minds, and therefore they resort to violence. These are the modus operandi of those stuck on stupid, the ones that simply does not have the brain capacity to engage in a debate, a civil debate. So yeah, I don't know what else uh, could have possibly evoked this kind of circus show in our political, environment in the U.S. other than the toxic political environment that have been prefabricated and constantly developed by a lot of our career politicians so that they can hold on to their power, they can promote their individual ambition to retain their position in power and amass millions and millions of dollars while our country is deteriorating and fast becoming a third world country, okay, because of the toxic political environment of the corrupt, okay, self-serving, okay, career politicians in our country. And now their corruption and their toxic narrative is engaging our peaceful right to congregate. And they're engaging negatively the role of our head of state, which is to connect with the public. I don't care what party the president belongs to. Okay. Um, yes, I have run for office on two separate occasions. I am current Republican, somewhat of a candidate, but I simply cannot condone took place yesterday. Okay, folks. The role of the president, regardless of their party, is to engage the public. And when people, okay, constantly try to silence the head of our state and our leaders, that's basically an infringement on the right of the public to learn and understand about what's going on in our society and country from those that we put in power, put in office. And there's this one guy, okay, there's always this one guy who happens to be a Democrat. Okay, I guess he supported some of the Democrat agenda from his state in California, who went all the way to Washington, D.C., from the West Coast to the East Coast, just trying to, wreak havoc. Just he's hell bent to become very violent with all of his weapons and guns that he brought along with him. Okay, trying to violently attack the president and other people. It seems like because that was a fairly big event. It was attended by the press, from both sides actually. Press that tends to be, liberal, and there were people that participated that came from the conservative side. Uh, the uh, mass communication presence industry in our country. And, on top of that, this isn't the first time that somebody had tried to assassinate a sitting president. We just simply happened to, try to serve America and, preserve our interests. Um, I don't care, in terms of political affiliation. I think we need to wake up as Americans, as Virginians, as whatever, citizen from whatever state you're from, and collectively say this isn't going to be accepted. We need to push back, folks. We're not in a in a country where civility is not protected. Okay, we are actually in a country that promote and try to preserve civility in our society. But when uncivilized people try to disrupt our managerial skills to preserve our democracy, to preserve our peaceful dissent and ability to speak our mind, then we need to push back. You know, we're not in a dictatorship. We're not in an authoritarian, country. We're simply not fit as Americans to succumb to third world country and uncivilized countries modus operandi when it comes to politics. Okay, folks. So I just want to kind of, emphasize this because the world is watching America day in and day out. And people are saying, wait a second, I thought you guys are a democracy. I thought you guys preserve, freedom of speech. We thought you guys go out around the world championing peace and diplomacy. We thought that you guys are telling your values and sharing your values to have some sort of connection with other countries and developing shared values, commonality with other countries. And yet, this individual from California decides to travel all the way from California to Washington, D.C., just so that he can attack people that he's never met, people that he knows nothing about, people that are simply just trying to do what they're supposed to be doing, regardless of if he agrees or don't agree with them. He doesn't have to be violent. He can get on a YouTube channel. He can start a podcast. He can get on any social media platform and talk about his dissatisfaction. Okay. In today's world, if you become violent, it simply shows that you have no brain capacity to engage in a civil debate, or you can't even express yourself. Okay. Because there is no reason for violence in today's world. Okay, folks. I don't care if you are liberal or conservative or progressive. If you don't agree with something, say it. Speak your mind. Get on a social media platform. Okay, connect with an audience and share your views. Let the public decide if you actually have a case. If you provide a concrete and logical point, then share it with the public. Don't attack people. Don't be violent. There is no reason for you to be violent in today's reality, in today's world. Now live in the year 2026. You will be able to win hearts and minds better if you communicate. Look, I know people that don't even speak English. I know people that barely speak English that are so compelling to listen to, okay? And they go on social media and speak their mind, and they're compelling people that do speak English as a first language understand their point of view, because instead of them becoming violent, they're actually out there communicating, using their brain capacity to win hearts and minds. And then you have people that uses violence trying to make a point which has no merit whatsoever. Not in our society in America, no, not in any country around the world. There is no point for violence, folks. It just simply shows that that your inability to convey your ideas, thoughts, vision, and opinions is disjointed. You simply cannot compel people to believe in you or understand what it is that you're trying to share with them, or you simply don't have a case to share with them. You don't have much of a point to stand on. All right, folks. So I'm saying this because I am truly grateful that the president, Mr. Trump, and his family were not, harmed on this third assassination attempt, and others on that event or have participated in that event was not harmed as well. Fortunately, there was a security officer who happened to have a vest and survived the shot. I believe he was shot. So would like to lift up his family and friends so that he can get back on his feet and go on his speedy recovery. Because that imbecile that shot him does not belong in any society. Okay, folks. And I just found out that the guy was a teacher. So if the guy was a teacher or somewhat of, pretending to be a teacher, because a teacher is supposed to be able to communicate, a teacher is supposed to convey ideas and transfer knowledge. Obviously, he was not a very good teacher because he didn't transfer knowledge. He tried to become violent. Okay, so that's point one. But like I said, I'm truly am grateful that the president is fine. I don't care what you think of the president. You don't have to be a fan of the president. You don't even have to like him or vote for him, but he is a human being, and he's just like any other politician. He's trying to do what he thinks is the best for our country. You can't fault people for wanting to do what is best for the country. Okay, you can debate with them. You can share your views with them and try to convince them or out debate them and demerit their credibility. You can do that using your ideas, your thoughts, your ability to think. Okay, you don't have to be violent with people. You don't have to try to kill them. There is no point to killing people. I mean, I'm not a pacifist. I don't believe that there are crimes out there that warrants, people going to jail and being reprimanded for the rest of their life. Okay, I believe that, but nowadays there is no point of killing each other. Okay, yeah. So this guy was a teacher, and he basically threw away his life trying to assassinate a sitting president, where he could have easily just created a social media platform and talk about his dissatisfaction with the policy that this president is sharing and pushing out there to the public. And he didn't have to try to kill that person. He didn't have to try to kill a sitting president, just because he disagrees with his policy. Okay, folks. Yeah, so that's my overall opinion. Please feel free to share your thoughts, message me at the bottom of this podcast and video blog, because I'm also going to be sharing this video blog on our channel, Economics TV channel. I, as a politician, understand that you're not always going to connect with people, okay, and vice versa, that there's going to be people out there that won't like you. That's just the reality of politics. But in the year 2026, violence has no room in any political environment, public discourse, or any form of meeting of the minds. The engagement in, debates and, knowledge transfer. Violence is the last resort, and it's typically deployed by people that simply do not have a brain. Either they're mentally incapacitated, or they're unhinged, sick, demented, you call whatever you want to call it. Um, that's proof that that person is not able to function in a civilized society. Okay. So that's my overall point of view. Please let me know what your thoughts regarding what happened yesterday in Washington, D.C. at the White House correspondence dinner event at the Hilton, Washington venue. Yeah, so sad. I mean, third world countries are behaving. Second world countries that are not even as fluent and as powerful and as wealthy, okay, as the U.S. are behaving. They used to be the ones that do these kinds of things. They attack their politicians. They do all sorts of harm and violent things to their own politicians in these poorer countries. And now it seems like America is mimicking that of other countries that are not even as wealthy or as civilized as, or quote unquote civilized, because we're supposed to be a civilized society in America. But when you have people trying to shoot um, our politicians, then that doesn't show a lot of civility. Okay, folks, I don't agree with all our politicians. Obviously, I don't think anybody would ever agree with one single person, especially if you have the ability to think for yourself. But regardless of what that person is saying, you don't have to believe that person. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to subscribe to their, opinions, ideas, and thoughts, and even vision. But you do not have to kill that person. You do not have to be violent against that person. Okay. Uh, Being violent is very strong indicator of your weakness. A weak person is violent because they cannot express their thoughts. They're not able to verbalize their feelings. They cannot engage in a civilized debate. They have no brain capacity to motivate themselves to participate in the meeting of the minds. And therefore, they use violence trying to silence the opposition. Typical, would stonewall you. I mean, it happens in politics. There's a lot of politicians out there that stonewall and silence their opponents, but at least they're not violent towards them. Okay, so violence is the last resort of any form of engagement, because that shows that you're just not qualified, or you simply don't have the thought process to engage in a civilized debate, the meeting of the minds. With this said, folks, thank you so much for your time listening to my podcast. My name is Al Mina with the Face Economics Podcast. And I'm also going to be uploading this podcast on our YouTube channel, Face Economics TV. Please subscribe, share, and like our very different, very unique platform. We've still yet to grow on people, but I think it's okay. I would rather keep on doing the heavy lifting, door knocking, and trying to win hearts and minds of the public as much as I can with our platform. So little by little and slow, how slow it may be, as long as we're able to connect with the right people, and get the quality supporters that we've been trying to attract to our platform. So many people, I'm gonna go ahead and transition into the social media platform. because that is our platform. Face Economics is the utilization of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. Um, but with that said, I know there are some ramifications on the effects of the social media on people. Okay, so you have to use social media just like you use any other tool on planet Earth. If you use a tool to build a house, a hammer to build a house, you'll build a really nice house with that hammer. If you use a hammer to pound on people, then you, in effect, would have destroyed that person. So it's all about how you use modern tools, artificial intelligence, you name it, blockchain technology, tools that are meant to improve, quality of life and improve systems, processes, and business management, of opportunities, then use those tools. Now, if you use those tools to inflict harm, then you're going to end up inflicting harm on other people. So just like any other social media platform. So again, face economics is the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. And an example of that would be, like Meta. Facebook used to be um, called Facebook, and it transitioned into Meta. And Meta back then, I want to say 25 years ago, Meta used to be called Meta Crawler, and what that is a database where you can search anything off of that Meta search. So they transitioned from Facebook to Meta because Facebook is, and just like any other social media platform, is um, an economic platform. Okay, it's a market. So don't be fooled to think that Facebook is not generating billions and billions of dollars off of your data. Social media platform is designed to, uh, house data, and then they use that to basically, connect with the marketplace and influence, what's going on in the marketplace. So that's just the reality of the social media platform. It doesn't matter what social media platform, everything on social media is market driven. Otherwise, they won't be around because they won't be making any money. So social media is a part of the industry, the artificial intelligence industry, and the new technology, new world market industry. So just be mindful of that. All right, folks. Um, let's see, what else did I want to talk to you about? I think what I'm going to do is I'll talk about some other, uh, pressing issues and things that I wanted to explore longer on my video blog, on our Face Economics TV video blog, since I tend to go on 40 minutes or even more to talking about certain, things that's happening, and even my opinions and thoughts on, how things are evolving in the marketplace, geopolitics, geoeconomics, current events, current affairs. And as a politician, I want to kind of give you guys a very different take to politics. My platform on Facebook, I actually wrote that politics is outdated, and in reality, it is extremely outdated. Point in fact is, look at the money that's being pumped into political events, and elections that are being mostly um, tailored to the highest bidder. Whoever has the most money gets to win, gets to recruit signatures, get to be on the ballot. Whoever has the most money gets that position, even though they are not qualified to lead. They are not qualified to hold public office, but because they have a lot of money, guess what? They end up having a role in a political decision making process, which really is not the healthiest when you have people that ascend to power that is not looking out for the best interests of the country, but is trying to recover their investment into their campaign or whatever political party. So that's just the reality. Politics is an industry. It will always be an industry. It's a multi-billion industry. Okay, folks. And that's why I said it's outdated, because you can be stuck on stupid. You can do the same thing over and over again and still get the same results because you have money. Okay. And so that's just the reality of things. With this said, folks, thank you for listening. My name is Al Mina with the Face Economics podcast and Face Economics TV YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like, and share our platform with your family and friends, and also like us on Facebook. And I'm going to continue to give you something different, something unique, something you've never heard of, something that you might feel, oh, well, this guy is a little different. We don't really identify, associate, blah, 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 whatever. But you know what, folks? In order for you to change the dynamics of an environment that is corrupt, toxic, and unproductive circus show, you have to rock the boat. And that's what we're doing. We're rocking the boat because a lot of our decision makers are stuck on stupid and have been stuck on stupid because they grew up in a political environment that made them stuck on stupid. They're just there. Okay. They're just wallowing in being stupid because they don't know any better, or they simply don't have the backbone to, engage and lead the way a leader should lead. You know, they're not. The politicians are pretty strange sometimes. They're trying to win hearts and minds by selling ice cream. But guess what, folks? If you want to be a leader, you can't sell ice cream. You actually have to lead and let people understand that, okay, this is how things has to be. And you convince them. You make sure that they understand your position. You just don't dictate to them. Okay. You just don't make them do what you tell them to do. You compel them to think, and you have to verbalize your thoughts. You have to actually convince them to support you. And that's what leadership is about. Okay. You don't just use money. You just don't try to sell ice cream to people. You actually create something different and see if it's something that they want. Okay. And provide a solution. That's how you know that's how you share leadership. That's how you promote leadership. Okay, folks. So, well, thank you so much for your time. My name again is Al Mina, Face Economics author and podcaster on the Face Economics podcast platform, and video blogger on our YouTube channel, Face Economics TV. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.